On today's show, Reed Sheppard is the truth as the Rockets completely blow out the Lakers and Bronny James Jr. in the first game of Las Vegas Summer League. Cam Whitmore, his growth, his leadership on display in this game. AJ Griffin, Nate Williams, and so much more to get to. It's all coming up on today's Locked On Rockets.
This is Mission Control, Houston.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh man, is it good to have Houston Rockets basketball back and be able to talk about a dub here in the first Summer League game. What's up, and welcome to another edition of Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. As always, I'm your host, Jackson Gatlin, native Houstonian and credentialed media member. I'm also the host of Locked On NBA Mondays. Be sure to follow along wherever you listen to your podcasts or on YouTube. Just search Locked On Rockets. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. That's the best way you can help our show out, is to go comment anything below the YouTube video. Swing by, say go Rockets. Swing by, give me your thoughts on Reed Sheppard's debut, your reaction to the first game of Summer League against the Lakers and Bronny James Jr. And as always, thank you so much for making Locked On Rockets part of your day every single day, whether it's on your way to work, on your lunch break, in the gym. Thank you for being an everydayer. Holy crap, this game was awesome. This was, without a doubt, I think the best debut performance of any of the Rockets' core seven in Summer League. Reed Sheppard was absurd in this game. He finished with 23 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, 3 blocks, so four stocks, on 9 of 17 shooting, 4 of 6 from downtown, and 1 of 2 at the charity stripe, a plus 21 on the evening. And including one, he absolutely cooked Dalton Connect on a play in this game. Man, that play was just filthy. Right out of Steph Curry's back. How poetic is it that the Rockets went from being tormented by Steph Curry for years, and they just drafted like the next reincarnation of Steph Curry as a basketball player. Basically Steph Curry with a 40-inch vertical, because we even got a Reed Sheppard dunk in this game. We saw a little bit of everything. We basically saw a little bit of everything from Reed Sheppard's game in this one in particular. We saw the shooting, we saw the playmaking, we saw the defense, we saw the mid-range, we saw him get up for a dunk. We saw the active hands defensively. We saw pretty much everything that you would want to see out of a player in Summer League to really give you a feel for his whole game. Sam Vecini even commented that Reed Sheppard is already at the point where he might be too good for Summer League already. And while I hope that he at least plays the 2 more games that I'm here in Vegas for, selfishly, it wouldn't shock me if the Rockets just, let him play 1 or 2 more games and then shut him down, because he really is. He just looks that good, that polished right out of the gate. I mean, very first play of the game was a backdoor cut by Cam Whitmore, and Reed Sheppard just teed him up with the pass beautifully. Little bounce pass as Cam cut, backdoor baseline, and went up for 2 at the rim. Super easy play. The offense looked really, really good for a majority of the game when Reed Sheppard was running things. It looked a little bit clunkier when Reed Sheppard didn't have the ball in his hands and wasn't running things. More on that in a second. But I want to stay focused on the big picture here. I want to stay focused on Reed Sheppard here in segment 1 before we kind of expand and get into some of the nitty-gritty, the game flow, and talk a little bit more about Cam Whitmore, his growth and leadership, and what he did in this game, as well as some of the other contributors, AJ Griffin, Nate Williams, N'Faly Dante, Orlando Robinson off the bench was incredibly active as well. So for me, I'm really torn between what was more impressive for Reed, and I'm curious your thoughts. What was more impressive, his shooting display in this game or his playmaking? Because it really did feel like he was making it a point to involve others kind of early on. It wasn't like so much like, deer in headlights or anything early. It was just he really settled into the game and got more and more comfortable as the game wore on. early on, I think he was really focused on making the right reads, involving his teammates, trying to get other guys set up. And then once he started looking for his own shot, once he started kind of feeling it a little bit, he had the moment where he pulled up for like the logo three. At one point, he was 4-4 from downtown. Like the dude was absolutely cooking, and then eventually pulled up for a heat check, which absolutely respected at that point. But he was knocking him down from the outside. He managed to get a couple middies off, and the couple middies that he did hit, I'll tell you what, they looked very, very CP3-esque in the way that he was able to handle the ball, kind of get the defender on his hip, right? So get, pick, the pick comes, screen gets set, use the screen, shed the defender, and then get the defender placed on your hip to where you can kind of slow your dribble and then control where the defender goes, and then pressure with the roll man going towards the rim. And then as soon as you have that window, right, elevate, knock down the jumper. We saw him do that a couple times in this game. And again, it looked very CP3-esque, not quite as fluid as when CP3 would snake the pick and roll and get to that open spot, right? He'd start on kind of one side of the free throw line, like left side, and then snake his way over to the right side of the free throw line, extended, and then elevate for a jumper. Not quite that fluid, but that's absolutely going to be one of the things that I'm sure Reed adds to his bag over time. I mean, hell, the first three that he hit in this game, I believe it was off a pass from Cam Whitmore, and he just immediately elevated with zero hesitation and knocked it down. The kid just oozes confidence, and he's just so polished already at such a young age. The Rockets don't have this skill set anywhere else. We've talked about this a lot already, but they don't have this skill set anywhere else in the core seven. And so to see a guy come in with these skills as a point guard, as a floor general, as a guy who can set other guys up, get guys involved, again, from that point guard position, it means so much. And to see it on display, to see him have the success that he had in this game, oh my goodness, he absolutely cooked the hell out of Dalton Connect. That one play, it was straight out. It really did look like Curry Light out there with the hezzy, the head fake up into the shot, the relocate back like he was going to pull for a three, and then the second fake and then go, where I think on replay, Reed Sheppard may have double dribbled. He may have put a second hand on the basketball, but the move was so filthy, the referees did not blow their whistle, and instead it led to a nice little highlight reel play for Reed Sheppard in his debut game. I can't say enough good things about what he did. And then defensively, right? The four stocks. Realistically, between you've got the shooting to choose from, you've got the playmaking to choose from, and you've got the defense to choose from. But there were so many moments in this game. Well, there was one where Moses Brown had the ball down low and was getting ready to go up for a dunk, like a completely uncontested dunk. Reed Sheppard slips in front of Moses Brown, who is massive, by the way, a massive human being, slips in front of Moses Brown and just comes down hard on the ball with his hands and knocks it out of bounds, right? Strips him and knocks it off of his, it's out off Moses Brown. Incredible play. And then there was another possession. I think it was there was a set of back-to-back possessions in this game where Reed had active hands, and he had another one where it would have been a wide open dunk or a wide open layup, bucket, whatever, right at the rim for whichever Lakers player had cut kind of back door. But Reed on a switch was in the middle and was in the paint and had his hands up and was active in the passing lanes and swatted the ball away. And because of how he deflected the pass, it resulted in a 24-second shot clock violation for the Lakers. Ultimately, a really fantastic all-around performance for Reed Sheppard. The outside shooting was there. The playmaking was there. He was looking for and involving his teammates consistently. The offense looked really, really good when it was running through him in particular. And then defensively, there were definitely some moments where he looked a little small on the defensive end. I'm not even going to lie. Especially there were moments where, as the Rockets were switching everything 1 through 5, there were moments where Reed would get switched onto the big, And I will say that they were communicating at a very high level. There was constant yelling communication on trying to get him scrammed out on the switches, get him out on the perimeter. And as the game went on, it did feel like that communication got better and better. Because again, this group of guys has barely played together. They don't know what's going on yet. And especially for a switch everything defense, like that's one of the issues is the more reps you have, the easier it is to understand and communicate and know how you're switching and the expectation of the switch rather than, instead of thinking about it, you're just doing it because it's instinct rather than you having to think, oh, I'm switching now, I'm doing this. So I was blown away by Reed Sheppard's debut performance. I cannot wait to see what he has in store for us in game 2. Got some comments from what he said, what he had to say after the game, some other observations that I have here in my notes. Got to also talk about Cam Whitmore, his growth, his leadership, how he looked here in his second stint in Summer League, trying to defend his Summer League MVP from last year. Also got to talk a little bit about AJ Griffin, Nate Williams, so many other notes to get to from this game. We're going to get there in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and so much more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. And continuing on here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. All right, so getting into a little bit more of the nitty-gritty from this game. I spoke about it a little bit there at the end of segment 1, but it did kind of feel like early on the Rockets defense was a little clunky in this one, especially there were a lot of moments where the Rockets defense kind of felt like Swiss cheese, where they were getting carved up by simple little backdoor cuts and off-ball actions from the Lakers, just because they were losing track of their guys defensively. They, again, a switch everything scheme is really tough to get comfortable with in a very short amount of time. And some of these guys haven't played in a switch heavy scheme before. Some of them have, and just trying to get everybody on the same page is a little bit difficult. It felt like the Rockets defense collectively, both on an individual level, a man-to-man defense, but then also the team defense got considerably better as the game went on because they got more and more comfortable understanding, hey, this is how we're switching this is what we're doing here. Again, some of the early switches where Reed got switched onto, a big man, Castleton or whoever else for the Lakers, Moses Brown, there were moments where he would have to, he was kind of stuck on the big, and the Lakers never really, took advantage of those mismatches, but you could see that was, a bit of an issue at times, right? Because then you're out of position for rebounding and all that stuff. But then as the game went on, the communication got a lot better. There were moments where you'd see Reed, immediately understand, okay, I'm switching to the big, but then he would immediately be looking to be kicked out essentially and go back out to a perimeter player and let one of the other bigger wings or one of the other bigs on the roster switch onto the big that he was supposed to be guarding after the initial switch. So watching that take place was good, just to see the group get more comfortable as the game went on. Cam Whitmore, though, look, the way that Summer League is supposed to work is when you're in Summer League as a second or a third year player or whatever, you should theoretically look like the best player on the floor. You should look calm, comfortable, in control of things, and you should look dominant. And that's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened last year with Jabari Smith Jr. and Tari Eason, right? They looked dominant in the couple games that we saw them play. Cam had a really strong game in this one. He finished with 20 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 steals, did have a few turnovers in there, 8 of 17 shooting, 1 of 6 from outside the arc. So, the outside shot just really wasn't falling for Cam in this game. Only 3 of 5 at the charity stripe. I will say I was not, I won't say frustrated. I was disappointed in the first half for Cam Whitmore. It felt like he played a lot better in the second half of this game. But especially in the first half, one of my, thoughts, one of my expectations for Summer League was, okay, how are the Rockets going to divvy up their offense, right? How are they going to run things? And it played out almost exactly how I thought it would. Reed Sheppard ran a lot of the offense, and there were stretches where Reed was either played off ball or just on the bench and not in the game to begin with. And when those moments occurred, Cam Whitmore was largely in charge of bringing the ball up the floor, running the offense, handling things. And there were a lot of stretches, especially in the first half of this game, where the offense got sticky, got bogged down. There wasn't enough passing. They weren't sharing the ball enough. And that's the area of Cam Whitmore's game that he's still going to have to work on and grow and get better at. Nobody's expecting him to be, a playmaker immediately. Nobody's expecting him to go out there and average, 4, 5, 6 assists next season. But there was definitely a stretch in that first half of the game where it felt like he was maybe tunnel visioning a little bit, looking for his shot a little bit too much. I think he settled in as the game went on, and we started to see the Cam Whitmore that we were more accustomed to seeing this past year, which is the Cam Whitmore who is an explosive athlete, high-flying finishes in and around the rim, driving with force, making his presence felt. And ultimately, last year we really didn't see much, if at all any, of Cam Whitmore actively using like screens and calling for pick and roll opportunities to generate his offense. Whereas in this one, it felt like almost every play where Cam walked the ball up, they were starting the offense. They were starting things out with a pick and roll action, right? Just simple offense, nothing crazy complex. And it looked, I don't want to say difficult for him. It just looked different, right? It looked different than what we're used to seeing for Cam, because we're used to seeing different, we're used to seeing a Rockets offense where other guys, where it's Jalen Green or Fred VanVleet or Alperen Sengun or whatever, one of those guys is kind of the primary initiator for the Rockets usually. And then Cam gets to attack outside of, after one of those guys makes the initial move, right? And then he gets to attack a scrambled defense, kick out, and immediately pull up for a shot or attack off the catch from the perimeter, things like that. We haven't really seen a lot of Cam be the primary initiator offensively. So it was a nice little kind of experiment to see what he had going on there. Ultimately, strong game for Cam. I love some of the steals that he got, right? He's always kind of laying in the weeds there in the passing lanes, especially after a made bucket. It's like one of his favorite things to do. It's not quite like Jose Alvarado level of like, waiting behind the scenes and then trying to sneak in for a steal at the last minute after a made bucket or something, as the offense is getting set up. But there's definitely moments where Cam loves to kind of hang back for a split second. And if you're lazy on that inbounds pass, it's curtains, it's game over. He's going to rip it and he's going to go back up for an easy 2 at the rim. I loved too the chemistry that both Reed Sheppard and Cam Whitmore shared immediately. Like, it was evident right out of the gate. Talked about the, first play of the game, the little backdoor cut from Reed Sheppard to Cam Whitmore. There was another play a little bit later on where Rockets they defended well. And I apologize. I don't know if this play was off of a made or missed shot, but immediately they were kicking the ball ahead. Reed had the ball, and Cam was streaking down the lane, down the far side of the court and calling for it. And Reed immediately identified it, kicked the ball ahead to Cam Whitmore, and he elevated and got up to the rim, made the bucket, got fouled, got sent to the free throw line. I do not remember if he converted on that and one opportunity, but still generated an and one opportunity from a great little kick ahead pass. I want to say that Reed connected with Cam on, I believe, 3 of his 5 assists, maybe 4 of his 5 assists were directly to Cam Whitmore. And the relationship that those two already share, the fact that Cam Whitmore has already kind of taken Reed Sheppard under his wing, that he's embracing, a leadership role, a vocal role with this summer league squad. That's the expectation, right? He played last year, right? He's an NBA veteran. He's the grizzled veteran on this roster with this group of guys. Even though he's only 20 years old, he's basically still a baby. Reed talked about it after the game, because so they both played, the first 5, it was a little under 6 minutes of the first quarter, and they both subbed out at the same time. And I watched them. They went to the bench and they sat down immediately. And as soon as they sat down, Reed was going over something with Coach Garrett Jackson, and then Cam came back over and got Reed's attention and immediately started pointing some stuff out to him. And I posted the clip on Twitter. It was just really great to see that communication from Cam Whitmore, that leadership. And it was like that throughout the entire game. Cam was constantly grabbing Reed, talking to him, explaining stuff to him, pointing things out to him. And I got the chance to ask Reed about it after the game. And that's exactly what he echoed. He was like, look, Cam has been here, right? He knows a lot of these little things that I don't know yet, speaking as Reed Sheppard. And he said to have Cam on the roster, to have him, take him under his wing and communicate those things to him and point things out and give him advice and teach him is huge. It's incredibly helpful. And so seeing that growth, seeing that leadership on display from Cam Whitmore is almost as exciting as the high-flying dunks, the actual on-the-court basketball production, because we know he's capable of that, right? But seeing some of the intangible stuff, the growth, the maturity aspect of his game in this first one here in Summer League was really exciting to see. And again, we're probably going to get a limited dosage of Cam Whitmore here in Summer League. Again, last year, Jabari and Tari were shut down after 2 games. Wouldn't shock me if Cam Whitmore shut down after this next one. However, I will note that while things did look really good for the Rockets, and Reed Sheppard especially looked really good running the offense, I am a little worried about how things are going to look once the Rockets pull Cam Whitmore out of the lineup, because that's a pretty significant weapon that the Rockets have to pair with Reed Sheppard. I've talked about this a lot, right? One of the reasons that it feels like they want to have Cam Whitmore out there with Reed Sheppard is to give him an outlet, right? To give him a guy to create for, so we can see how that playmaking really works when he has an outlet, when he has a weapon to play alongside. Because if it's going to be Reed Sheppard and a bunch of the RGV Vipers or guys that can't quite shoot the ball, then things might not look as pretty when we get to games 3, 4, and 5 here in Summer League as they do here in Game 1. I will note, similar to I talked a little bit about the clunkiness to Cam's game in particular in the first half. I think that can also just be extended to the Rockets as a whole. Coach Garrett Jackson spoke about this when I asked him post-game about just the offensive execution when Reed was being played off ball. Because again, I'd say there was probably when Reed was on the floor, I'd say he was running the offense about 70% of the time, 75% maybe. And then there was another 25, 30% of the time that he was being played off ball. Now, some of that was him just standing in the corner doing not much, if anything. And then other times the Rockets actually did run some off-ball action, some sets to try and generate, some off-ball movement and get him a shot kind of, coming off a screen or coming off a little off-ball actions, those kinds of things. And Coach Jackson basically explained that he was a little frustrated, that he thought that the ball movement could have been better, that they should have shared the basketball a lot more, especially when Reed wasn't the one steering things. And that was kind of to be expected. Again, we'll see if they're able to clean that up ahead of Game 2 here against the Washington Wizards on Sunday. That's going to be one thing that I want to see improvement from game to game with this squad, is what do they look like ultimately? Can they get to a point where Cam can embrace that offensive initiator role, where we can see a little bit more of Reed Sheppard's off-ball strength, off-ball gravity, or is this roster just not really equipped for us to be able to see that on full display here in Summer League? There were a couple moments where Reed had catch and shoot opportunities, off-ball opportunities, but I do think it's going to get a lot better when you have other legitimate creators playing alongside Reed Sheppard, right? When he has guys like Alperen Sengun, Jalen Green, Amin Thompson, Fred VanVleet, when he has those guys creating for him, where he's able to really leverage that shooting gravity, oh man, this is going to be guys, this is going to be a lot of fun. I can't even front. I'm so excited to see Reed Sheppard start playing actual NBA minutes. And seeing again the immediate, the day one chemistry between those two guys, having that dynamic duo coming off the Rockets bench this next season, Reed Sheppard and Cam Whitmore. Oh man. And then Amin Thompson on top of that. I cannot believe that the NBA let Reed Sheppard get to the Houston Rockets. Demon Reed. Speaking of, I love the Taxman nickname or IRS, right? because his full name is actually Isaiah Reed Sheppard. So his initials are literally IRS. And taxman, right? IRS, taxes are due. Taxman's here. We gotta come up with another nickname though, because we cannot go with the other nickname that's been doing the rounds. We cannot go with Cocaine Curry as the nickname. As ridiculous as that is, it's such a funny, it's kind of an awesome nickname, but at the same time, I'm not a big fan of nicknames. Like even though the baby Jokic stuff for Alp is cool, like, I much prefer the Wizard nickname for Alp than I do the baby Jokic nickname. Just like, Cocaine Curry for Reed is kind of cool, but at the same time, like, he needs his own nickname. And I really love the IRS or the Taxman nickname. I think those are both fantastic. But we got to start brainstorming some other Reed Sheppard nicknames, or, again, maybe one will pop up organically. But coming up, want to get into final thoughts from this game. AJ Griffin, Nate Williams, the other standouts from this performance. We're going to get there in just one moment. First, today's episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Look, comparison is the thief of joy, and it's really easy to get envious of other people's lives, right? It might look like they have it all together when you're seeing what they're posting on Instagram and stuff, but it's tough when you're comparing other people's like highlight reel to your own behind the scenes, right? Because you're the only one that sees all of your lows, your behind the scenes, all that stuff. Therapy can help you focus on what you want instead of what others have, so you can start living your best life. Look, I've done therapy in the past. I found it to be an incredibly cathartic experience to have an unbiased third party kind of take my hand and kind of walk me through some of the stuff that I was dealing with in my day-to-day life. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Stop comparing and start focusing with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off of your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. And final segment here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast, home for everything Houston Rockets basketball. Final thoughts from the Rockets' debut summer league game. I will say, let's go. We'll go through the list here. Let's start with AJ Griffin, because I was not. I don't know. It was a little disappointing, his production in this game. 8 points, 2 of 7 shooting, 0 of 3 from downtown. He did get to the free throw line 4 times and nailed all 4 of them. He had a couple rebounds, couple steals, couple blocks. He was active defensively for sure. I was a little disappointed by his offensive production in this game. My thing was, again, I just wanted to see him step in and just do the things that, like, do the simple stuff, knock down open shots, play strong defense. The shooting wasn't there in this game. Maybe it shakes out and he looks better next game. I'm not going to write him off after one summer league performance. But ultimately, he was active defensively. He's got good size, good defensive instincts, and even offensively, right? Seeing him, I maybe it's because it's been a while since I've really watched AJ Griffin play, consistently, but he's comfortable offensively, right? Putting the ball on the floor and making something happen off the dribble. Again, it didn't lead to a ton in this game, but that's better than being like a cardboard cutout, cookie cutter 3-and-D wing that can't dribble the basketball, that can't be asked to do anything extra, that can only be told to go stand in the corner and knock down open threes. So there is more to his game there. It's just unfortunate that he didn't, capitalize on the open looks that he did get, the outside shots that he was given within the flow of the offense. I want to see a better bounce back game for him on Sunday coming up. A guy who did play out of his mind, though, in this game alongside Reed Sheppard and Cam Whitmore was none other than Nate Williams. Look, when I tell you guys, Nate Williams is a hooper. That guy can play. There's a reason the Rockets re-upped his 2-way contract. They really like him. I don't know if he's ever going to carve out a full-fledged permanent spot on an NBA roster. I think there's got to be a team out there of the 30 teams in the association. If it's not the Rockets, one of the other 29, there's got to be one somewhere that could use just a serviceable Swiss Army knife kind of wing, good size, hustler, can does the little things. And has this like really deceptive ability to finish in and around the rim, right? He's got a really good touch around the basket, whether it's off the glass or little kind of floater teardrop looks around the rim. He finished with 17 points on 8 of 14 shooting. He was 1 of 4 from downtown, but that means he was 7 of 10 inside the arc, 70% shooting inside the arc. Kind of absurd. He had 6 rebounds. He had a steal. He had a block in there. A nice little performance put together by Nate Williams. And then a couple of the other names. Orlando Robinson was a name that I failed to highlight him or mention him going into Summer League, but he's a name that I did. It popped up on a couple other people's radar, and he made, I'll tell you what, he made the most of his minutes. He was the best big on the floor for the Rockets in this game because N'Faly Dante, honestly, was a little underwhelming in this one, right? He only played 15 minutes. He finished the game. He had 2 points, 7 rebounds, 4 of which on the defensive glass, 3 offensive rebounds. He had a steal. He had a couple blocks. I'll tell you what, N'Faly Dante did have one massive block. Bronny James tried to go like scoop up and under a layup to get around Dante, and Dante said hell no and erased that shot. Just swatted the ever-living head. It was like he was playing volleyball out there, completely spiked it. But Orlando Robinson, really active, on kind of everywhere in this game. He finished with 11 points. He had 5 rebounds. He had an assist in there. He got fouled on a 3-point shot, which is probably not an advisable defensive decision to make if you're anybody on the LA Lakers roster. But I do think that he made the most of his minutes out there. I want to see better game twos, particularly from AJ Griffin and N'Faly Dante. Obviously, Reed, Cam, and Nate Williams kind of carried this group as the big 3-headed monster in this game. But I do want to see those two guys kind of step up and have some better bounce back games moving forward. Kira Lewis Jr., had a couple buckets in there, got downhill a couple times, finishing the. I'll tell you what, his north-south speed is very real. But again, I don't know how much to make of Kira Lewis on this Summer League roster. I don't think it's going to turn into anything for the Rockets. Maybe it's something where he finds a home on another team, like similar to Jay Huff last year, who got signed by the Denver Nuggets after he was on the Rockets training camp roster, or training camp, Summer League roster, and then training camp roster for like a day and a half before getting picked up by the Nuggets. I will say I mentioned this going into the game, and for all of you watching at home, I am very sorry that you had to deal with the Bronny James circus fiasco of coverage on ESPN and whatnot, because again, the number 3 overall pick in the draft just absolutely dominated in his Summer League debut, and apparently like all the coverage was still focused on Bronny James, who finished with what was his stat line even in this game? Like just to double check here, Bronny James, 8 points, 3 of 14, 0 of 8 from downtown, 2 of 2 at the free throw line, 5 rebounds, 2 steals, 3 turnovers. Like, ESPN, what are you doing, man? Like, even post game, it was hilarious. We were, so the way post game media works in Summer League at the Thomas and Mack Center, there's like kind of like a loading dock area, and there's 2 big like screens with like the backdrop that says like Summer League and whatever, and they're literally just side by side. And Jonathan Fagan of the Houston Chronicle, we were all there waiting for the Rockets players to come out for us to do the post-game media availabilities. And we were at the first screen, and then there was the second screen to our right, and that's where the Lakers were going to do their post-game media availabilities. And the massive crowd that was there waiting for Bronny Jr. to come talk, for Bronny James to come talk, was absurd. There was like 4 or 5 of us waiting for Reed Sheppard, and there was a mountain of, like, it was like 20, 30 people waiting for Bronny James. And it was just kind of ridiculous. It is what it is. I knew it was going to happen. I knew that was going to be the narrative. That was going to be the storyline for the game, the headliner. I will say that was probably the most packed that I've ever seen a Summer League game. I think that because it was the combination of Bronny James and the Lakers, comboed together. And obviously it's here in Las Vegas. LA is, a quick drive down the street. I think Thomas and Mack Center actually surpassed the number of fans that Victor Wembanyama drew in last year, because Wemby had like the upper bowl filled in Thomas and Mack Center, and Bronny had the upper bowl filled in Thomas and Mack Center. So while all that coverage was there because of Bronny, I'm glad that everybody got to see Reed Sheppard completely dominate him and the Lakers with just all those eyes on them. Overall, really impressive first summer league game. Really excited to see what more we can get out of this group. Curious to see how many more games, the combo of Reed Sheppard and Cam Whitmore ultimately play. Again, it wouldn't shock me if the Rockets decide they just want to shut down Reed because they've seen more than enough. I am curious. I want to know your thoughts. What was your favorite part of this game as a whole? What was your favorite part of Reed Sheppard's debut? Which part stood out the most to you, right? Was it the outside shooting? Was it the playmaking? Was it the defense? What stood out to you most about this game? I'm curious. I want to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the YouTube comments. But as always, thank you so much for checking out the show. If you haven't done so yet, please consider subscribing wherever you listen to your podcasts, or on YouTube, just search Locked On Rockets. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're on Apple Podcasts, 5-star review helps us out a ton. But as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening. And we look forward to having you back right here at Locked On Rockets, your daily podcast home for everything Houston Rockets basketball.